Can I beat the Enderdragon with these tanks? So, I had my tanks delivered here, and there were more coming, just in case. But firstly, I had to mine a way out of the end spawn, to finally roam around in one of my tanks. I did not know this yet, but letting the tanks to be delivered in the end spawn was one of the smartest decisions. Later on, I really needed all those blocks I had mined here. The mission itself was simple. Beat the Enderdragon using only tanks. And when I finally thought it's time to get on the road and complete my mission, I had to be disappointed. The tanks did not quite fit yet in the road I mined, so I had to pick up my pickaxe again and start mining for the second time. I knew my commander would not be happy for me taking that long, but in the end the outcome is all that matters, right? I'd rather do it right than lose one of the tanks in the void. And I was finally finished. Now all I had to do was sit in my comfy tank, hit the gas, sometimes aim, and complete the mission. I thought one shot at the Enderdragon would do the job. But first of all, the crystals. Had to break these. Good aim practice for the final boss itself, I thought. The aiming was hard. It was much harder than I had imagined. But I finally started to get a hang of it and managed to destroy the first end crystals. And there he finally was, the dragon, the myth, the legend, that every true Minecrafter player has beaten at least 100 times in their career. This time, the things were different. He had not seen me in this vehicle before, so I kept destroying one end crystal after another. Even the iron bars, meant to be protecting some of the crystals, were not challenging enough for my tank. Everything went all right, but then I did a mistake. Mistake I had not prepared myself for at all. I had totally forgotten about the Enderman. So I shot one, and there went my tank. It caught fire and got destroyed. Although I had more tanks back in the base, I felt defeated. I did not manage to even destroy all the end crystals, and the first tank is already gone. This tank will never be forgotten. He was the one who I started the mission with. And then the Endermen were furious. They ran after me, and I did the only thing imaginable. Built a fighting area where they cannot harm me. This golden trick has been used for centuries, and every single Minecraft player knows this. These few blocks above my head have never let me down in the end. And it was time to take my second bad boy for a spin. And there I went in my brand new tank, ready to continue the mission. After some shooting practice and roaming around, I had to deal with the Endermen once again. I guess they did not like this tank as much. I think it made a bit more noise than the previous one, so I think that was the reason they started to attack me so heavily. I also understood that some of the end towers are too high for me to shoot, but the mission was to destroy the Enderdragon, including the crystals, with a tank. So I came up with an idea to build a platform leading higher to shoot the end crystals, which I could not destroy on the ground. Now, remember, I had to mine quite a lot of blocks previously. Well, thanks to that, I had no shortage of building material. So, it was easy for me to continue my mission. The Enderdragon was often shooting at me, making the surface filled with dragon breath. It made building my way up more complicated, but nothing too serious. Just one incident where I stood in that damage-doing breath too long. I also had to build the way up there, as you can see in the video. By that I mean 3 blocks long and then 1 block up. That's something I learned when trying to get my tank out of the base the first time. It would have been much easier if I could have done a simple staircase, but then the tanks would not climb up. It was time to finally see if my invention would work. So I took my tank for a spin to the heights. Everything seemed to be working and going really well. But once again, an Enderman was on my way, making me suffer once again. My tank fell off the bridge. Thankfully, it did not blow up, and I continued my way up to finally destroy those last crystals. So there I finally was, few hundred feet off the ground, destroying the leftover crystals, Enderdragon flying above my head. I already smelled the victory, but then a sudden smell of breath appeared and destroyed my tank. Once again, I made a run towards my base to bring out another beauty of the tank world. This was the third tank I had to use, just to beat the Enderdragon. With the bow and some beds, it would have been done already, but of course, our commander spent all our investments on these tanks. "That's way safer and faster to get rid of the dragon," he said. But I'm saying the job would be done. I would be home, sleeping already, if he just gave me some beds and a bow. I had to admit to myself, the bridge was still not tall enough. Get out your blocks and start again, get it over with. It was all I was thinking. So I parked my tank and decided to get going and start building again. But the dragon was already so angry at me, he pushed off my tank from the bridge. Thankfully, the tank survived and everything was still okay. When I was finally done with the bridge, in my opinion, I went to get my tank to take it up there once again, but this time even higher. And of course something had to happen. I accidentally shot right in front of me, which destroyed some of the bridge and left my tank burning. After fixing the bridge, I went again. Almost fell to my death, but thankfully the landing was much safer than expected. I still had some building to do, as the tank did not reach one of the crystals quite yet. Although the building took longer than expected. After I was done building this time, I was confident it was the last time. But now, my tank, it got destroyed by the Enderdragon itself. So what? I was used to it by now. All I had to do was to get back to my base and bring a new one out for a run. And my new tank? It got damaged at the same place my last tank was destroyed, but I kept going. I still had a mission to complete. So my tank was on fire and I was climbing up the bridge. And the final end crystal was destroyed. Finally. Finally it was time to fight the Enderdragon with the tank. And if you think it was hard to hit those end crystals, then no. Now it was a moving target. Me versus Enderdragon. My aim versus the flying thing. And let me tell you, hitting that flying dragon, it was hard. Sometimes I tried and even hit the dragon. But I understood the wisest and the only tactic to get it over with is just to wait till the Enderdragon lands on the portal, to then fire at him. And although some accidents happened again, I think you're not even surprised anymore. Shout out to the Enderman protecting the dragon anyways. I managed to hit that Enderdragon few times, and my now burning tank was continuously attacked by the Enderman. So no surprises here, but even this tank got destroyed. So I ran all the way to the base and brought a new one. Shortly after reaching my destination, I managed to fire a couple of shots at the dragon. Thankfully I arrived in the perfect moment. Now it was just a waiting game. All I had to do was to wait. Wait till the dragon lands on the portal platform, fire at him, and repeat it as long as it takes. But at some point, my tank will prevail. And everything went according to the plan. I waited, shot, waited, shot, waited, and so on. I even managed to hit him while he was still in the air, flying. Then I obviously tried again and never hit him, but all I had to do was still wait and shoot, wait and shoot. So he landed again. I was waiting, shooting, and waiting, and shooting. After done some waiting again, he landed. I kept shooting at him, and somehow my tank got blown up. Again. So I went and brought a new one, and the same tactic was going all over again. Wait and shoot, wait and shoot. After all the obstacles on the way, I could finally feel relieved. It was so simple all of a sudden. Just stay at one place, enjoy the weather, and try to do as much damage to the dragon as possible. Sometimes few Endermen were trying to annoy me, but I got rid of them, just in case they tried to blow up my tank again. And I was waiting for my final shot at the Enderdragon. I knew he was low. All it took was one shot. And so it was. The Enderdragon was beaten versus tanks. Although the Enderdragon destroyed a lot of tanks, the tanks prevailed. So that's the story how I beat Enderdragon with tanks in Minecraft. Thank you for watching.